Welcome back. You're watching MSNBC. I'm Stephanie Ruhle. It is time now for your morning primer. All the news you need to know to get your day started. President Trump will be on the road today. In about 1 hour, the president will head to Detroit, Michigan to talk jobs and the auto industry. After that, he will stop by President Andrew Jackson's grave before holding a rally in Tennessee. And moments ago, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson arrived in Tokyo for his first trip to Asia since taking office. He will meet with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe Thursday before heading to South Korea and China to discuss North Korea's latest missile launches. And Janet Yellen will hold a news conference this afternoon where she is expected to announce the Fed will raise interest rates today for the second time since December, encouraged by the latest jobs number and the high consumer confidence. And Tuesday's winter storm largely spared bigger cities, but still packed a wallop. More than 6,000 flights were canceled Tuesday. Another 1,000 already canceled today. Airlines say it could take days to clear the backlog. And sadly, lots of kids went back to school. And the NCAA tournament tipped off last night. Mount St. Mary's and Kansas State both won as part of a first four, moving on to the next round. Now, at least a dozen Republican senators have now publicly criticized the health care bill calling for serious changes. But to get to Senate, it has to get through the House first, and that is no longer a sure thing. Virginia Republican Congressman Thomas Garrett has said he opposes the bill, and he joins me now. Congressman, good morning. You said the other day you don't see how this can pass the House. What are your colleagues telling you?
Well, I mean, I think Rob Whitman for Virginia came out publicly the other day. Notably, he's not a member of the Freedom Caucus. So when you start getting people from the Republican study group from the middle, if you will, I think that portends poorly. Now, look, we want to get something done. The easiest political play would be to kick the ball down the road and allow the wheels to continue to fall off of Obamacare. But what we want to get done is something that's going to be good, push down the cost curve, and not grow government. There's good stuff in this bill, but overall there are a couple of choke points that I just can't get past.
Has the president or the White House reached out to you in order to help get this thing passed?
They have, but what we've gotten essentially is we're flexible and they're results driven. So some of the things I've seen in the press and even some of President Trump's comments about a wonderful bill sort of counter what we've heard behind closed doors, which is, look, we want to get it right. It's too important to get wrong. And so I think there is some latitude, and I think you will see some changes. This is not something that comes with a timeline. Ironically, the Republican Party criticized Leader Pelosi for saying we need to pass the bill to find out what's in it. Let's not do the same thing.
Then when you said you have spoken to people behind closed doors, is it the president himself? And the reason I ask is some people are saying the president seems to be distancing himself from the bill. You know, we're hearing from people close to President Trump saying this is Ryan care. Whose is it? Is the president really behind it?
No, look, ultimately, Speaker Ryan and President Trump and myself and Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan and Rand Paul all want to get a good replacement for the failed policy that is Obamacare. The process isn't designed, you don't open your negotiations with your final offer. And I think we're going to see some movement here, but I think that's the right way to do this.
Are you concerned at all that if Republicans can't get their act together here, Democrats are going to point the finger and say, you had 7 years to do this, how'd you whiff?
Well, hey, look, you can point the finger all you want. The results of the Unaffordable Coverage Act are what they are. And I say that because we talk about a paradigm wherein individuals receive care, but they're not receiving care, they're receiving coverage. If you can't pay your deductible, you have a piece of paper that says you have insurance, but you still don't have health care. That's what we have to break away from here. So I suppose that either party could point the finger. We know who owns the system as it exists. Our job, Republicans' jobs, is to get it right going forward.
Is the issue, though, that what classic Republicans want, what conservatives want, and what Trump supporters want are two different things? Because to say everyone is going to have health care, but what it really is access to health care, those are two different things.
Well, yeah, no, I would differentiate between coverage and care. What the Affordable Care Act really did was expand coverage, largely by expanding Medicaid. One of the major sticking points for me is that we reward bad behavior in the states that expanded Medicaid, punish states that were fiscally responsible and prudent, and you create a massive entitlement program by virtue of which end you put the tax incentives on. We can do this without those things. Here's the good news, Stephanie. We're passing individual bills, even some along bipartisan lines like the McCarran-Ferguson repeal, that will help to address the shortcomings in our current healthcare system. So while we talk about Speaker Ryan's plan, And again, I'm going to give some credit for some good stuff in that plan. There's a lot that actually is going on that's getting missed, I think. There's probably 20 to 40 standalone bills. McCarran-Ferguson repeal, we had one in education and workforce the other day that would allow small businesses to band together to create the numbers they need to shop the markets for a discount. So that stuff's going through, but writ large, we need to get this right. And trying to pass something so that we can declare political victory that's not going to serve the American people well is in no one's best interest long term. And that's what this should be all about.
Amen to that. A little bipartisanship. That's what we need in D.C. All right. Thanks for sharing your thoughts this morning. I appreciate it.
Stephanie, thank you.
All right. Next, later this morning, President Trump will depart the White House to talk jobs and the auto industry in Detroit, Michigan. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, who represents the Detroit suburbs, joins us next.